The order he didn't expect. Rhett sat in the cold corner of the trade ship's loading bay, sipping old coffee. He had done this job for 6 years, picking up cargo, selling it, and keeping his mouth shut. He had seen everything. Weapons, rare, minerals, illegal bots, even stolen art. But today's delivery was different. A guard walked over with a small data pad. Special order from the blacklist, the guard said. 2 live ones, alien female and child. Rhett blinked. You mean slaves? The guard smirked. Not slaves. Lost property, the kind no one will miss. Sell them cheap. Boss wants them gone fast. Rhett's stomach turned a little. Still, he nodded. Where are they? The guard pointed to a metal crate marked Live Cargo. Rhett walked over and tapped the code. With a hiss, the door opened. Inside, a tall, thin alien woman stood, her hands tied in front of her. Her skin was light gray with faint violet patterns. She wore a torn blanket that barely covered her shoulders. Her eyes were deep, sad, and full of fear. Behind her, a small girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, hid, clutching a dirty stuffed creature. Rhett stared. They weren't criminals. They weren't dangerous. They were just broken. What are their names? He asked. Doesn't matter, the guard replied. No ID. Call them what you want. Rhett knelt and looked at the girl. Are you okay? The little alien girl didn't speak. She just stared at him with wide silver eyes. Her lower lip trembled. Come on, Rhett said gently. I won't hurt you. The woman stepped forward, shielding the girl with her body. Her voice was soft but firm. We will not be separated, Rhett nodded slowly. All right, both of you stay together. I'll take care of it. He led them to holding cell number 9. It was better than the others, cleaner, with a small mat and a water tap. Still, it was a cage. The woman didn't complain. She just sat down and pulled her daughter close. What's your name? Rhett asked. The woman stayed silent. Okay. I'm Rhett. He gave them a food pack and left the cell. But as the metal door shut, the little girl whispered something in a shaky voice. Is he going to hurt us too, Mama? Rhett froze. That night, Rhett couldn't sleep. He kept hearing the girl's voice. He had done shady jobs before, smuggled things, moved illegal cargo. But this felt wrong. He checked their data files again. Nothing. No record. No price. Set yet. Just a label. Temporary property. Clearance pending. Rhett went back to the cell. It was late. The lights were dim. He slid a small blanket through the bars. The woman looked up at him. Why are you helping? I don't know, Rhett said. Maybe because no one helped me when I was small. She didn't smile, but she nodded. My name is Sarah. My daughter is Aya. He whispered. Nice to meet you. Aya crawled into her mother's lap and fell asleep. Sarah covered her gently. Her eyes looked heavy, tired, like she hadn't rested in years. The next day, a buyer came. I want the little one, the man said. She looks exotic. Will sell well in the private circles. Rhett stared at him. She's not for sale without the mother. I don't want the mother, the man growled. She's used. The kid's pure. Rhett's hands balled into fists. No deal. The man slammed a card on the desk. You'll regret that. When he left, Rhett's heart was pounding. He looked at the security camera, then at the control tunnel. He knew what he had to do, but he also knew the cost. Later that evening, Rhett stood outside cell number 9 again. Sarah stood too, watching him. I was supposed to sell you, he said quietly. But I can't. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. But she nodded once. Rhett looked down at the sleeping child. She held her stuffed creature like it was her only treasure in the world. Rhett reached through the bars and whispered, I'll get you out. Both of you. I swear. Rhett watched the security feed from his private terminal. The screen showed Sarah sitting, On the cold floor of cell number 9, her daughter Aya curled up beside her. They hadn't moved much all day, no cries, no screams, just silence. Most slaves begged, most pleaded, but not Sarah. She didn't cry for mercy. She didn't shout for freedom. She didn't even ask for more food or water. She just sat. Still, proud. And that silence. It made Rhett uncomfortable. Later, Rhett brought them another meal. He opened the small hatch in the door and pushed in a food tray. "Eat," he said gently. Sarah looked up, nodded once, and handed the tray to Aya. The little girl took one small bite, then broke the bread in two and gave half to her mother. Rhett saw it and frowned. "You can eat first," he told Sarah. "But," she shook her head, "she is my breath. If she eats, I live." That simple sentence hit Rhett harder than he expected. She wasn't just a mother, she was a shield. He stayed quiet for a moment, then said, "You never ask for anything." "I do not beg," Sarah said, voice calm. "Begging never worked. It only makes them hurt you slower." Her words were soft but sharp, full of truth Rhett didn't want to hear. That night, Rhett sat alone in his cabin. He pulled out a small photo from his drawer, an old, wrinkled picture of a young girl with long black hair and missing front teeth. His little sister. She had been taken years ago during a pirate raid on their colony. Sold. Just like Sarah and Aya. No one had saved her. Rhett clenched his jaw. He had buried that pain for so long. Now it clawed back into his chest like fire. He opened a secure file and typed, "Reassigned slave code NAR 909, status, hold, no sale, under review, just enough to delay things. Just enough to buy time." 2 days later, Sarah spoke again. Rhett had brought a blanket and a small med kit. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Then he whispered, "I don't want to be like the others." Sarah studied his face. "You are not like them," she said softly. "You look tired, like a man fighting his own soul." Rhett smiled bitterly. "Maybe I am." She looked down. "I had a husband once. He fought too, but he died protecting us." "I'm sorry," Rhett said. Sarah nodded. "He told me, even if I fall, you don't kneel. You walk forward for her." "So I do." Her eyes drifted to her daughter. Aya was drawing in the dirt with her finger. A house, a tree, 3 figures, 2 tall, 1 small. Rhett stared. "What's she drawing?" Sarah smiled for the first time. "A home. She says she still dreams of one." The next morning, something changed. Rhett walked into the trade office and saw a message blinking on the main terminal. "High bid buyer. Requesting private offer for child only. Transfer in 48 hours. Rhett's heart dropped. No, 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 no. He stormed to the control room and locked the file. But another officer had already seen it. "You gonna fight the sale?" The officer laughed. "That alien brat could buy you a new ship." "She's not for sale," Rhett snapped. "Not your call anymore." Rhett punched the wall. His knuckles bled. He knew what was coming. Once a high-level buyer made an offer, it was almost impossible to stop, unless they disappeared. That night, Rhett opened the back panel of cell number 9. He whispered through the darkness, "We have 2 days. Then they take her. We run before that." Sarah didn't speak. She just grabbed her daughter's hand. "Why would you risk this?" she asked. "Because if I don't, I'll be one of the monsters." Sarah looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time. "You're not a monster," she whispered. "You're what they fear most." Rhett blinked. "What's that?" "A human, with a heart." The air in the trade station grew heavy with whispers. Word had spread. A buyer from the Ivex syndicate had shown interest in the alien child, locked in cell number 9. Not the mother, just the girl. Rhett felt sick. He had seen what the Ivex did with rare alien children. They trained them, used them, sold them again, alive, but never free. And now, they wanted Aya. The next morning, the station's lights flickered green. meaning a VIP guest had arrived. Rhett stood stiffly at the docking bay, arms crossed. A sleek black ship landed, silent like a predator. Out walked a tall woman in a silver coat. No smile, no warmth. Eyes like cold metal. 2 guards followed. She handed Rhett a datapad. "This is my offer. I want the child." Rhett didn't even look. "The child isn't for sale." The woman tilted her head. "You misunderstand. I'm not asking. The order is approved. She's to be delivered in 6 hours. She has a mother," Rhett said through gritted teeth. "She won't go without her." "I don't care about the mother." The woman turned away. "Have her ready, or I'll take both and dispose of them." "Extra." Rhett's fists clenched, but he said nothing. Not yet. He ran straight to cell number 9. Sarah was awake. Aya lay beside her, humming softly to her toy. "They're coming for her," Rhett said quietly. "The buyer is here. They're taking her today." Sarah's breath stopped. Her hands began to shake, but she didn't scream, didn't cry. She simply stood. "She won't go," she said. "They'll kill you if you resist," Rhett warned. "Then I will die with her." Rhett looked at Aya. She was too young to understand what was happening, but somehow her eyes already knew fear. "She's just a child," Sarah said, "and they want to steal her future." Rhett reached into his coat, pulled out a key card, and slipped it through the bars. "Tonight," he whispered. "You'll be free, but you need to trust me." Sarah took the card slowly. "Why are you doing this?" He hesitated, then said, "Because someone once stole my sister, and I never got her back." Hours passed. Guards prepared the handoff. The buyer's ship remained docked. Final orders were being printed. But Rhett had already made his move. He slipped into the back corridors, places he knew from years working in the shadows. He disabled security doors, cut off a section of the station's video feeds. He returned to cell number 9 just before shift change. "Now," he whispered. Sarah carried Aya in her arms. The girl was sleepy but quiet. Rhett led them through the dark maintenance tunnel. It smelled of metal, oil, and something burned. They moved fast, quietly. But then they were spotted. A patrol guard turned the corner. "Hey, stop!" Rhett didn't wait. He grabbed a loose pipe from the wall and swung hard. The metal cracked against the guard's helmet. He fell instantly. Blood dripped down Rhett's hand. "Go! Move!" They reached the lower launch bay, but it was locked. Rhett smashed the control box, rewired the panel, and hit the override. The door slid open, just enough for one person at a time. "Go first," he told Sarah. "No," she said. "You first, or we don't go." They stared at each other. And in that moment, they weren't human and alien. They were just people, trying to survive. He nodded and stepped through, pulled them both in. As the door shut behind them, alarms rang out. Unauthorized access detected. They had only minutes now. Inside the hangar was a tiny scout ship, old, rusty, and barely functional. Rhett jumped into the pilot's seat. "Hold on." The engine sputtered, coughed, then roared to life. A guard shouted, "Shut that down." Gunfire hit the hull. Rhett pushed the throttle. The ship lifted, jerking hard. Aya screamed and held on to Sarah. The mother wrapped her arms tight around her daughter. "Close your eyes, my love," she whispered. The ship blasted forward, out of the bay and into the stars. Minutes later, floating in the quiet of space, Rhett looked back. The trade station was shrinking behind them. He took a breath. "You're free." But Sarah didn't celebrate. She looked at her daughter, then she looked at Rhett. "We're running now," she said. "But running is not living. We need somewhere safe." Rhett nodded. "I know a place. It's far, but no one will find us there." Sarah leaned back. "Then take us home, human." The ship rattled in the dark. It was old, too old to trust. Alarms blinked red, systems glitched, but somehow it still flew. Rhett's hands were tight on the controls, eyes scanning the stars ahead. Behind him, Sarah sat on the floor, holding her daughter close. They had escaped, but they were not safe. Yet, where are we going? Sarah asked softly. To the edge, Rhett said. There's a mining moon, dead zone. No patrols, no buyers, just rocks and wind. I used to hide there when I was younger. Sarah nodded. She didn't ask more, but her eyes stayed on him. Watching, judging, trusting, but only a little. After a few hours, Rhett powered, down the engines and set the ship to drift, silent, cold, invisible to scanners. He turned to them. We'll sleep in shifts, no lights, no signals. We stay quiet. If they track us, we're dead. Aya had fallen asleep with her head on her mother's lap. Sarah gently covered her with Rhett's jacket. Rhett looked away, pretending not to. Notice. You've done this before, Sarah said. Rhett nodded. Once. A long time ago. Who did you save then? No one, he answered. I ran. I saved myself. Later that night, Sarah joined him in the small cockpit. She stared at the stars through the glass. Her voice was low. We were not always poor. Rhett said nothing. My mate was a teacher. I sang for our village. We had a garden, a small pond. My daughter used to chase birds. She smiled for half a second. Then the smile broke. When the raiders came, he told me to hide with her. He stayed to fight. I never saw him again. Rhett looked at her face, so calm but full of cracks. Like glass holding back a flood. I couldn't save him, she whispered. But I'll die before I lose her. Rhett didn't speak. He just nodded and handed her a protein bar. 3 days passed in silence. Then, ping. An alert flashed red on the ship's main screen. Proximity scan detected, tracking signal active. They found us, Rhett hissed. Sarah stood at once. What now? He punched a code into the panel. I had a backup plan. You said this ship has no weapons. It doesn't, but it has teeth. He flipped a hidden switch. The floor beneath them shook. A metal panel opened near the cargo bay. Inside was a sealed pod, half covered in dust. Old tech. Illegal tech. Is that a stealth drop pod? Sarah asked. Rhett smiled faintly. Yeah. A friend owed me a favor. It's small, it's fast, and it can't be tracked. Sarah narrowed her eyes. But it only fits 2. Rhett looked at her, serious now. You and Aya go, I'll fly the ship as a decoy. No, Sarah snapped. We don't leave you. Rhett knelt in front of Aya, who had just woken up. Hey, kid, he said gently. Want to go on a ride with your mom? Aya rubbed her eyes. Only if you come too. He swallowed hard. I'll catch up, promise. 10 minutes later, the pod launched. Rhett watched from the ship's window as the tiny pod shot into the void, undetected, silent, free. He took a deep breath. Then he turned the ship and powered everything to maximum. Engines roaring, lights flashing, beacons active. Come and find me, he muttered. It didn't take long. 2 black ships appeared on radar. The Ivex. They fired a warning shot. Rhett laughed bitterly. Yeah, I see you. He turned the ship toward an asteroid field and punched the engines. The ship shook, violently. Panels sparked. But Rhett kept going, through the rocks, through the storm. He shouted into the dark. You'll never touch them again. Meanwhile, the pod landed on a quiet moon. Dust blew across its silver surface. Nothing lived. Nothing moved. But that was the point. The door opened with a hiss. Sarah stepped out, holding Aya in her arms. She looked up at the stars, and she waited. Waited for the man who had promised to find them again. The moon was silent. No trees, no birds. Just wind and dust. Sarah stood alone beside the small escape pod, her daughter Aya curled in her arms. The stars above were sharp and cold. Rhett had said this place was safe, forgotten. But now, she wasn't so sure. For 2 days she waited. No signal, no ship, no Rhett. Aya kept asking, where is he? Sarah only whispered, he's coming. He promised. but her voice grew thinner with each passing hour. Deep in space, Rhett's ship was falling apart. He had led the Ivex hunters into the asteroid field, just like he planned. But he didn't expect them to follow so closely, or to shoot without warning. The hull cracked. Fires burst from the engine. He barely kept control. Still, he smiled. The longer they chased him, the safer Sarah and Aya were. He had one goal now. Don't die yet. Back on the moon, Sarah made a small shelter using scrap from the pod. She boiled the last food packs, gave Aya the softest blanket. At night, she stayed awake, eyes open, ears sharp. Then, on the fourth night, she heard it. Footsteps. Heavy, slow, crunching on dry rock. She grabbed a metal rod and stepped outside the pod. A shape appeared in the darkness. Not Rhett. Tall. Thick armor. A glowing red visor. Ivex bounty. Hunter. Sarah didn't scream. She stood in front of the pod like a wall. The hunter raised a scanner. You have the child. Surrender. Sarah raised the rod. Come and take her. The hunter paused. You cannot win. I don't need to win, Sarah said quietly. I only need to stop you long enough. The hunter stepped forward. She swung. He blocked it easily, knocking her to the ground. Pain shot through her arm. Aya screamed from inside the pod. Mama! The hunter moved toward her, and then a sound ripped through the air, a roar of broken engines, a falling star, a crashing. Shipwreck's broken vessel slammed into the ground just meters away, sending a wall of dust and flame into the air. The Ivex hunter turned, but it was too late. Rhett, bloody and limping, jumped from the wreckage with a blaster in hand. He fired. One shot, direct to the visor. The hunter dropped. Smoke hissed from his armor. Rhett stumbled forward. His coat was half burned, his face covered in dirt and blood. But he was alive. Sarah gasped. You. I told you I'd come, Rhett said, collapsing to his knees. Aya ran out of the pod and threw her arms around him. You came back. Rhett held her tightly. Of course I did, kid. Sarah stared at him, heart racing. You were supposed to escape. I did, he grinned weakly. Just not very cleanly. Later, as the sun rose over the quiet moon, Sarah cleaned Rhett's wounds with soft hands. You risked your life, she said. I know. For me. For her. He looked at her gently. I didn't just save you. You saved me too. She blinked, confused. How? I was lost, he said, doing bad things for bad people. Then I met two souls worth protecting. That gave me something I didn't know I still had. She looked into his eyes. What's that? Rhett smiled. A reason. Far above them, another Ivex ship passed the moon. But it didn't stop. It didn't scan. It didn't see them. Because Rhett had burned out every tracking system with his crash. For now, they were free. But freedom had a price, and Rhett had paid it, with fire, blood, and heart. Rhett sat under a jagged rock, his shoulder wrapped in torn fabric. The wound burned, but he didn't complain. Aya slept beside him, her tiny hands gripping his coat like it was the only thing holding her to this world. Sarah sat across from him, silent, watching the flames of a small fire they had built from wreckage. They were alive, but they had nothing. No food, no working ship, and no future. Unless Rhett made a choice. The next morning, Rhett limped across the rocky hill, dragging a piece of twisted metal behind him. He was building something. Sarah didn't know what. She followed him. You need rest. That wound. I don't have time to rest, Rhett said. We're not safe here. They'll come again. But we have no ship, Sarah said. No comms, no way out. I know, he said. That's why I'm building a signal, one only an old friend of mine can hear. He owes me his life. Sarah frowned. And if he doesn't come? Rhett looked at her. Then I'll walk across this moon to find someone who will. Later that day, as Rhett adjusted the old transmitter he had salvaged, Aya walked up to him and whispered, Are you my dad now? Rhett froze. She looked up at him with innocent silver eyes. Mama said dads don't leave and you came back. He swallowed hard. His hands shook. He looked at Sarah, standing behind Aya, her expression unreadable. Then he looked at the child again. I'm trying, kid, he said. I'm really trying. That night, while Aya slept, Sarah sat beside Rhett. The fire crackled. The wind howled. You didn't have to come back, she said. I know. You could have let them take us. No one would have blamed you. Rhett didn't answer right away. Then he said, Before I met you, I thought I was done feeling. I didn't care about anyone. I did my job, took my credits, and tried to forget my past. And now? He looked at the stars. Now I care. Too much. Sarah touched his hand just for a moment. You could leave, she said quietly. You did your part. You saved us. Rhett looked at her. You think that's all I want? She didn't speak. I'm not just trying to save you anymore, he said. I want to stay, if you'll let me. The signal transmitter sparked. To life on the third day. A weak ping pulsed into the void, over and over. One code only one person would understand. Rhett sat beside it waiting. The sky stayed quiet, until beep. A return signal, a smuggler ship. Not Ivex, not law, just old friends with grudges and debt. They're coming, Rhett said, a smile tugging at his lips. They'll land in 6 hours. But the joy didn't last. As the sun dipped, Rhett noticed something in the distance. Flashes of blue light on the horizon. They're back, he whispered. Sarah stood quickly. Ivex? No. Station hunters. They want their property back. Sarah grabbed Aya and backed toward the rocks. What do we do? Rhett stared at the transmitter, and then at the fire. We stall, he said. Long enough for the smuggler to land. But they'll kill you. He looked into Sarah's eyes. Then they'll have to try hard. He stood at the top of the hill, his blaster in hand. The hunters spread across the plain, shouting commands, scanning for signs. Then they saw him. Rhett fired one warning shot into the sky. I won't let you take them, he yelled. A hunter raised his weapon. You're protecting illegal cargo. No, Rhett said. I'm protecting my family. The fight was short but brutal. Rhett was wounded again, blaster burn across his ribs, but he kept going. Sarah helped. She threw rocks, pulled Aya into cover. She even grabbed a fallen weapon and fired once, hitting a hunter in the leg. The smuggler ship arrived just in time. Its cannons roared, sending the last 2 hunters fleeing into the rocks. Rhett collapsed. Sarah caught him. You said you were trying, she whispered. He smiled, weak but proud. Am I doing okay? She nodded. You're already one of us. The smuggler ship was old and ugly, but it flew. And that was all that mattered. Sarah sat beside Rhett in the back cabin. He was half awake, wrapped in bandages, eyes fluttering. Every few minutes, Aya lay beside him, holding his hand tightly. He had nearly died. Again. But he hadn't let go. Not of them, not of his promise, not of his choice. The smuggler, a thick-bearded man with oil stains on his coat, looked back through the cabin door. We'll reach the green zone in 1 day, he grunted. I know a place. It's quiet. No scans, no questions. A real home. Sarah stood. How much? The smuggler shrugged. Rhett saved my life 10 years ago. I never paid him back until now. He disappeared into the cockpit, leaving Sarah in silence. She looked down at Rhett. You saved us, she whispered. Now let me save you. The green zone was a planet. Most maps ignored. Lush valleys, deep forests, a sun that was warm but kind. No patrols, no trade routes, just peace. The smuggler dropped them near a wide field by a river. Build something here, he said. Something real. Then he left, leaving dust in his wake. And for the first time in a long time, they were truly alone. And free. Rhett recovered slowly. He used old parts from the pod to build tools. He carved wood from trees. He even made a small bed for Aya. Out of broken panels and soft leaves, Sarah grew herbs. She sang again, her voice carrying across the wind. Aya laughed and danced, chasing birds in the grass like she once had on her homeworld. And Rhett built a house, not big, not perfect, but theirs. One evening, as the sun painted the sky with gold, Rhett sat outside sharpening a blade. Sarah walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You never told me your full story," she said. Rhett looked up at the clouds. "There's not much to tell. I lost my sister, I lost myself, I thought I was broken forever." Sarah sat beside him. "And now?" He turned and looked at her and smiled. "Now I'm found." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small flower Aya had picked. "She calls you Dad now. Not in words, but in how she looks at you." Rhett swallowed. "Is that okay?" Sarah smiled. "It's perfect." That night, around the fire, Aya curled into Rhett's side. She yawned and asked, "Can we stay here forever?" Rhett looked at Sarah. She nodded. "Yes," he said softly. Forever sounds good. Weeks passed. Seasons changed. And in time, they were no longer fugitives, no longer prey. They were something stronger, something rare, a family. People whispered about them. Some called them ghosts, others legends. A man who refused to sell. A woman who refused to kneel. A child who got a second chance. But they didn't care what the galaxy said. They had found each other. And in a broken, cruel universe, that was enough. Final lines. One morning, Rhett stepped outside and saw Sarah planting seeds in fresh soil. Aya ran through the tall grass with joy in her voice. He took a deep breath and smiled. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel like a lost soul running from his past. He felt like a man who had built something worth fighting for. A life. A home. A future. Far from the dark stations and cold buyers, he had made a choice, and it had changed everything.